Hey all, Pixel here, Improbable Garage, and we're going to be fixing some vintage patio chairs. So I'm doing this for a friend of a friend who needed a welder to fix these chairs. These are 1950s, 1960s chairs. There's no maker's mark, there's nothing that indicates an exact age, but just based on style and the amount of coats of paint on them, I guess that's about right. And the problem with all of them is the feet. They were originally these cup styles, which probably had a plastic insert into them so they wouldn't scratch whatever they were on, but all of those are long since gone. And this one's literally an example of, like, here's one that isn't rusted, here's one that's started to rust and therefore bend, here's one that's rusted badly enough that it started to bend around, and here's one that's basically gone. They've had the problem, their patio is pea gravel, and they've had more than one instance of somebody sit in the chair, the weight causes the back legs to poke into the ground, and they go arse over tea kettle. So they need the feet replaced, but also this one's not too bad, but some of them, the back legs, one or more of the back legs have bent in from probably somebody going, backwards over it. So they don't sit flat either. So the solution I was able to find for a reasonable price is these are 3/8 thick, 1.5 inch wide fender washers. They're basically stupidly thick fender washers. And these are going to be the new feet. They're thicker than the actual material that's here because, I showed you, these are very thin, like stamped sheet metal. So it's a thicker material. They're wider than the current ones, which means they'll be less likely to sink in. So what's going to happen with those, I'm going to basically cut the existing foot off flush with the top of the cup. So I'm going to lose just a tiny bit of, these are going to lose a little bit of height because I'm going to lose the thickness of the cup, and they're going to lose a little bit of the leg here, but that'll let me get them all, I know, at the same level because I'm cutting them relative to the same point. Any legs that are wonky and it won't stand straight, I'm going to bend those straight, and then I'm going to weld the new ones on. They're going to get welded on from the top, and then I'm going to flip them over, fill weld the hole in the center, and then grind that flat again so that they'll be really locked on there. And with a coat of paint, which they're going to do because these need to be stripped down and repainted, that should last a really good long time. Give a nice wide base so that they sit well, and I'm going to make sure all of them are dead flat as far as when they sit on the ground, all 4 feet sit flat. So that's it. Nothing super complicated, but it'll take these chairs from actively dangerous to sit in to nice and easy to use, which makes it worth them then restoring the whole chairs. And, set of vintage chairs get to survive a bit longer. I'm not going to film every single one because it's going to be the same thing 4 times over, but I'm going to just basically bang through one chair. You'll get to see everything that I'm doing. This is going to be a longer time lapse than usual because I'm going to go a little slower so you can actively, see more of it. So that right there, this was cracked through, and it had actually been painted. The crack had been painted, so it's been cracked for a while, but I just welded that back on. so that this leg is properly supported by its little support there. I think I finally got this. Oh right, it's hot where you weld. And that is now, between that and bending of the legs, that now sits flat. So now I can just take 4 washers, clean the tops of them off, set them under there, get it all nicely aligned so they're as centered as possible, and should be able to just weld them on. And there we go. 4 feetsies welded on, welded from underneath, so these things are not going anywhere. My welds are not perfect. Partially it's an angle thing, and partially it's, you know, ancient kind of cheap steel covered in paint. I tried to get as much paint off as possible, but between the paint and the rust, it's a little bit unhappy. But that is nice and stable now, especially with that fixed back leg. So I just got to do that a couple more times, and we're done. This one, both were broken. And this one, this whole leg had been broken for quite a while and was bent so far forward that it was there when it should be over there. So I obviously very poorly put a clamp in. I would have had it welded already, but I wanted to show you, so my fault. But yeah, basically this whole leg is bent so far forward that should be way back here isn't. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to push that leg back till it lines up. I'm going to immediately put a weld on it this time, and then that'll hold it in the right place. This side was cracked, but still in the right place. Alrighty, these are all done. Nice, new, solid feet on all of them. And repairs to that brace on a couple of them like I showed you. I didn't go in and try and make all my welds pretty, because the steel the chairs are made out of has enough odd contamination here and there that it was occasionally just spitting or being weird or making the welds not weld perfectly. And I feared that if I went and ground trying to make everything nice, I'd end up making those feet thinner, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. So anywhere there was like a thing someone's foot might catch on or be sharp or anything, that was cleaned up, and the bottoms were obviously cleaned up so they were flat. But other than that, I left the welds just how they are. They're not perfect, but they're nice and solid. With a coat of paint, they'll look perfectly presentable. So I'm going to call this little project done and get them back to their owner so they can either go on to be used or go on to be further restored, or both. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.